Hey there friends, thanks for joining me again, and today I want to talk to you about strategies to pay off your house faster. There are different ways that you can, use, and the first one would be like a bi-weekly payment. Sometimes people will choose to do a bi-weekly payment because they get paid every other week. So say you get paid every other Thursday. Well, if you just made a payment every other week toward your mortgage instead of saving half of the money and then waiting until the next paycheck comes, then the other half of the money for your mortgage and then paying it all at once at the end of the mortgage, or the end of the month, and then twice a year usually when you get paid twice a week, every other week, you end up with 3 paychecks in a month, so people will go out and spend the extra money on whatever. If you chose to have a bi-weekly payment, so whatever your mortgage would normally be, your mortgage company can cut it in half and then say, all right, well, you pay half of that every other week. Not only do you end up making an extra mortgage payment every year, you end up making 13 mortgage payments instead of 12, but you also pay less interest. You pay less interest because interest usually compounds daily, and it's compounding interest, of course. So when you have more frequent payments like that, you're actually cutting down the interest from having made payments more frequently. Hopefully that makes sense. So a bi-weekly payment can help. If you get paid that way, you might consider that. Another way would be an extra payment. So at once a year, just make an extra payment. This can be when you get a holiday bonus. It can be when you get your tax return. Whenever you can do it, maybe one of those months when you have 3 paychecks or whatever. You could just make an extra payment that month. Another way you could do it would be to make extra with each payment. So cutting back some of your expenses, living frugally, saving some extra money, and then instead of just paying, say your mortgage was $850, round it up to $1,000 and just pay $1,000 each month. At the end of the time, the length of your mortgage, that adds up to a lot, because especially in the beginning, when you make extra payments in the beginning, it makes the biggest impact. But not only that, it also makes an impact on every dollar you put toward your mortgage after that. So not only does it buy down your debt right away, but it changes the amortization schedule to where you owe less money is being put toward interest, more of your money is actually going toward paying down that principal, and so it makes all the money that you put after that go even further. So it really is worth the effort to do it. Another method would be to refinance your mortgage. A lot of people will, put a 30-year mortgage, and then along the way maybe they're like, okay, 2 or 3 years into it, they refinance and put a 20-year, or refinance and put a 30-year, or a 15 instead of a 30-year. So refinancing can be helpful. It can also help cut down on the interest, but I did a video a while back on the differences between 15 and 30 years, so I don't want to talk about that too much. But you could either choose a shorter mortgage in the first place, or you could refinance along the way. Now, I know this sounds like a lot of abstract information. Here are some different things you can do to pay it off, but it still can seem like a little bit of a pipe dream. It doesn't really seem like it could actually happen for you. So let me tell you a little story. There were these 2 kids. They were 20-year-old kids, and they decided they wanted to do something crazy. They wanted to buy a house instead of renting. Well, they bought a house and they did some research, ways to pay it off faster. And so these 2 young kids decided they wanted to buy a house that was smaller than, what typically people would normally buy, and they wanted to put a 15-year mortgage on it. And that's what they did. They bought a nice conservative little house with a 15-year mortgage. And instead of doing the bi-weekly payments, they just made extra payments each time. So as they could, they rounded up their mortgage, paid extra that way. Once a year when they got their tax return, because that's what worked for them, instead of doing what the typical American way would be to just like upgrade your car or to go to Iceland or Aruba or who knows what, instead of taking fancy vacations or upgrading their TV from a 36-inch to a 50-inch or whatever else, instead of spending that tax return, they put that into their mortgage as well. And then they also found some other things they had around. Like he had some government bonds. Way later on, he cashed some of those out and rolled it into the mortgage, etc. How did this end up working out for these people? Well, these people are me and my husband, and we bought our house September 8th, 2004. March 5th, 2012, we marched in the bank and we said we want to pay off our house. We knew approximately how much we owed. I wasn't sure how much it was going to be with the interest and whatnot, but I marched in, and instead of making a regular payment, I said I want to make a final payment. So the lady called up, found the payoff figure. We wrote out a check for that amount, and we walked out of the bank with a heavy debt, weight lifted off of us, and we now owned this house in full. And we've been living here debt-free in this house for quite some time. For a while, we didn't know what to do with our money, and that's an entirely different video. Like, the truth about being debt-free is not what most people would think it is. It's not what a lot of people would envision it to be, and it actually works out a little differently than you think it did, or you think it might, and it certainly did for us. But that's a different video. So for a little while, we didn't end up saving a whole lot, but then later on, we did end up putting together some goals of buying another house. We wanted to keep the house that we already had paid off in full, keep it as an asset, maybe rent it out, make some money off of it that way, and then buy another house. But of course, that takes money. You have to have a down payment and closing costs and all these other things. So we decided to save money until then, and that's where we're at now. I wanted to share this because sometimes a lot of the information in my videos or any other videos here on YouTube can sound a little abstract. It doesn't sound like it's really possible, or you may not think that it can actually work for you, but it does. Your frugal lifestyle is not for nothing. It really can account to something really great. You can really end up with something a whole lot better than you thought you would have, and it really can work for you. So, my husband and I bought our house when we were 20. We took almost to the day 7.5 years to pay it off. And at 27, we were debt-free and living in a paid-off house. And it doesn't matter where in life you are in your journey, the same thing can happen for you. If you have a mortgage now, you can use some of those strategies I talked about in the beginning to help pay it off faster. Or if you want to buy a house but haven't paid for it yet, or haven't, bought one yet, you can use some of the other strategies that I've depicted in this entire series, different ways you can shop around for your mortgage to get the right one, making sure you choose the right mortgage. There's a big difference between a 15 and a 30 year. And I know for a fact that if we would have gotten a 30 year, but then made the same payments, it would have actually taken us longer to pay it off than if we would have gotten the 15 year, because they are very different. They have a lower interest rate, etc., etc. But anyway, I already talked about all of these things. So if you want to check that out, go for it. Go back to that video and see that. But anyway, I just wanted to let you know and encourage you that you can pay off your mortgage if you have one now, or if you're still aspiring to buy a house. You can make some choices that can help you out. For us, choosing a 15-year mortgage instead of a 30-year mortgage was basically the difference between having a cable bill and maybe eating out once a week. We looked at the numbers and we said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and choose not to have that cable bill, do a frugalized TV, and then we're going to go ahead and not eat out. We're just going to meal plan and do some other stuff like that. So save on our grocery bill and save that way and put that money toward our mortgage. And this is how it actually ended up working out for us. So hopefully you will join me. I would like to invite you over. Say maybe this Saturday or so, I would like to have you over and tour this house that I'm talking about. So, unfortunately, we're long distance, no need to hop on a plane or anything. You can provide your own refreshments and just hang out with me here on YouTube, and I will be putting out a video on a house tour of what this house looks like. So I'm excited to have you over. Stay tuned. Hopefully Saturday works for you. If not, it's YouTube. You can come by on Sunday or whenever else works for you, and just hang out with me for a little while. So anyway, hopefully this video is helpful to you, and hopefully I'll see you Saturday. So thanks for joining me on Frugal Green Girl, and we'll see you next time.